Would you risk it all to do the right thing? In the heart of a stormy city, Chef Marcus takes a stand, feeding a homeless boy and paying a hefty price. But what happens next will leave you speechless. The rain fell in relentless sheets that afternoon, turning the city streets into glistening paths of water. Inside Le Gourmet, the atmosphere was a stark contrast to the storm outside. Warm lighting, soft classical music, and the tantalizing aroma of gourmet dishes filled the air. Chef Marcus, a tall, broad-shouldered man in his late 30s with a kind smile and an undeniable passion for cooking, moved expertly through the kitchen. His hands were a blur as he carefully plated a dish, every movement a testament to years of dedication and love for his craft. Just as Marcus was about to send the plate out, he glanced out the small window that faced the alleyway behind the restaurant. A figure huddled near the dumpster caught his eye. Marcus squinted, trying to make out more details. The figure was small, likely a child, and was soaked through, shivering in the cold rain. Marcus felt a pang of concern. This wasn't the first time he'd noticed people scavenging in the alley, but a child? He quickly finished his plating and handed the dish off to a waiter. Wiping his hands on a towel, he made his way to the back door, trying to be inconspicuous. Pushing open the door, he stepped out into the alley, the rain immediately soaking through his white chef's coat. The boy looked up at the sound of the door, his eyes wide and frightened. Marcus could see now that he was no more than 10 years old, his clothes torn and dirty, his skin pale with cold. "Hey there," Marcus called softly, not wanting to scare him away. "What are you doing out here?" The boy hesitated, looking ready to bolt at any moment. Marcus took a step closer, hands raised in a gesture of peace. "It's okay, I'm not going to hurt you." "Are you hungry?" he asked, his voice gentle. The boy nodded slowly, his eyes never leaving Marcus's face. "Wait here," Marcus said, turning back towards the kitchen. He knew he was taking a risk, but he couldn't just leave the boy out there. He quickly put together a plate of warm food, nothing too fancy, just something to fill the boy's stomach and warm him up. As Marcus walked back into the alley, he saw the boy still standing there, looking unsure but hopeful. Marcus handed him the plate, watching as the boy's eyes lit up at the sight of the food. "Thank you," the boy whispered, his voice barely audible over the rain. Marcus smiled. "What's your name?" he asked. "Jamal," the boy replied, shoveling a bite of food into his mouth. "I'm Marcus." "It's nice to meet you, Jamal," Marcus said, leaning against the wall. "How did you end up out here?" Jamal shrugged, his focus on the food. "My mom, she got sick, and we lost our place. I don't know where she is now." Marcus felt a lump form in his throat. "I'm sorry to hear that. Do you have anywhere to go?" Jamal shook his head, still eating as if he hadn't had a meal in days. Marcus stood there for a moment, trying to think of what to do next. He couldn't just send the boy back into the storm. Just then, the back door swung open, and Mr. Thompson, the owner of Le Gourmet, stepped out. He was a tall, stern man in his 50s, known for his no-nonsense attitude and his commitment to running a tight ship. "Marcus, what are you doing out here?" Mr. Thompson demanded, his eyes narrowing as he took in the scene. Marcus straightened up, shielding Jamal slightly. "This boy was hungry, sir. I couldn't just leave him out here in the rain." Mr. Thompson's gaze shifted to Jamal, then back to Marcus. "We're running a business, Marcus, not a charity. You know the rules." "Sir, he's just a kid." "He needs help," Marcus argued, trying to keep his voice calm. "The rules are the rules," Mr. Thompson said firmly. "We can't afford to feed every stray that comes by. You're fired." The words hit Marcus like a punch to the gut. He stood there, stunned, as Mr. Thompson turned and walked back inside. Marcus looked down at Jamal, who had stopped eating and was staring up at him with wide eyes. "It's okay," Marcus said, forcing a smile. "We'll figure something out." He couldn't stay there any longer. He had to find somewhere for Jamal to go, and quickly. He took the boy's hand and led him away from the restaurant, the rain continuing to pour down around them. They walked through the city streets, Marcus's mind racing with thoughts of what to do next. As they walked, Marcus felt a mix of emotions. Anger at Mr. Thompson for his heartlessness, fear for what would happen to him and Jamal, and a determination to do the right thing, no matter what it cost him. He had always believed in the power of kindness and the importance of helping others, and he wasn't about to let one setback change that. They found shelter in a small park under a large oak tree, the branches providing some protection from the rain. Marcus took off his coat and draped it over Jamal's shoulders, hoping to keep him a little warmer. "Thank you, Marcus," Jamal said quietly, looking up at him with gratitude. Marcus smiled down at the boy. "We'll get through this, Jamal. I promise." As they sat there, waiting for the rain to stop, Marcus couldn't help but think about how quickly life could change. Just a few hours ago, he had been in the warm, bustling kitchen of Le Gourmet, doing what he loved. Now, he was sitting in a park with a homeless boy, unsure of what the future held. But despite the uncertainty, Marcus felt a sense of purpose. He knew that he had done the right thing, and that was what mattered most. He would find a way to help Jamal, no matter what it took. And in the process, he hoped to remind others of the importance of kindness and compassion in a world that often seemed to forget those values. As the rain began to let up, Marcus stood and helped Jamal to his feet. Together, they walked towards an uncertain future, but with a shared determination to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The next morning, the rain had stopped, leaving the city streets damp and glistening under the early light. Marcus and Jamal had found temporary refuge at a small homeless shelter that accepted them with understanding and compassion. It wasn't much, but it was warm, dry, and safe. Marcus woke up early, his mind still reeling from the events of the previous day. He sat on the edge of the cot, watching Jamal sleep peacefully for the first time in what was likely days. He couldn't help but smile at the boy's serene face. Despite everything, Jamal had managed to hold on to his innocence. The peace didn't last long. Marcus's phone buzzed on the small table beside him. It was an alert from social media. Curiosity got the better of him, and he opened the app, only to be greeted by dozens of notifications. The story of his firing had spread like wildfire. A local blogger had been dining at Le Gourmet when the incident occurred. She had posted a detailed account of what she had witnessed, and it had struck a chord with the community. Comments of outrage against Mr. Thompson and support for Marcus flooded in. Marcus's heart swelled with a mixture of emotions as he read through the comments. There were people who understood why he did what he did, and others who criticized the restaurant for its lack of compassion. But what stood out the most were the offers of help. People were offering food, shelter, and even job opportunities. The outpouring of support was overwhelming. Jamal stirred and opened his eyes. "Morning," he said groggily, rubbing his eyes. "Morning, Jamal. How did you sleep?" Marcus asked, putting the phone away. "Better. Thank you for finding this place," Jamal replied, sitting up. Marcus ruffled the boy's hair affectionately. "We're in this together, kiddo." Just then, the shelter's door creaked open and a woman entered. She was in her early 40s, with kind eyes and a warm smile. She introduced herself as Maria, one of the volunteers at the shelter. "Good morning," she greeted them. "I heard about what happened yesterday. It's all over the news." Marcus sighed, bracing himself for more questions. "Yeah, it seems like everyone knows." "Well, I wanted to let you know that we're here to help. We have some resources and connections that might be useful to you," Maria said, her voice full of genuine concern. "Thank you, Maria." "I appreciate that more than you know," Marcus replied, feeling a glimmer of hope. Maria handed him a piece of paper. "Here are some contacts for local organizations that can help with food and housing. And if you need anything else, just let us know." Marcus took the paper, grateful for the support. "We'll definitely look into this." "Thank you." As Maria left, Marcus turned to Jamal. "We're going to figure this out, okay?" Jamal nodded, a small smile on his face. "I believe you, Marcus." The rest of the morning was spent making phone calls and setting up appointments with various organizations. Marcus felt a renewed sense of purpose. He wasn't just fighting for himself anymore, he was fighting for Jamal too. In the afternoon, they headed out to meet with one of the organizations that offered temporary housing. The streets were bustling with activity, and Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that everyone was watching them. He kept his head down, focusing on the task at hand. As they approached the building, Marcus noticed a familiar face. It was Tony, a regular at Le Gourmet. Tony was a businessman who often entertained clients at the restaurant. He recognized Marcus immediately. "Hey, Marcus. I heard what happened." "That was a rough deal," Tony said, extending his hand. "Thanks, Tony." "It's been a tough couple of days," Marcus replied, shaking his hand. Tony looked at Jamal and then back at Marcus. "You know, I'm organizing a charity event next week. We could use a good chef. How about it?" Marcus was taken aback by the offer. "That's very generous of you, Tony. But I'm not sure I'm in a position to." "Nonsense," Tony interrupted. "You're a great chef, and we could use your help. Plus, it'll be good for you to get back in the kitchen. What do you say?" Marcus glanced at Jamal, who nodded encouragingly. "All right, I'm in." "Thank you, Tony." As they walked away from the encounter, Marcus felt a surge of optimism. The charity event could be a chance to get back on his feet and show the community that he was still the same dedicated chef they knew and loved. Later that evening, back at the shelter, Marcus and Jamal sat down for dinner. The meal was simple but satisfying, and Marcus couldn't help but think about how much his life had changed in such a short time. He looked around the room at the other shelter residents, each with their own story of hardship and resilience. "Marcus," Jamal said, breaking the silence. "Why did you help me?" Marcus thought for a moment before answering. "Because it was the right thing to do. No one should have to go through what you're going through, especially not a kid." Jamal looked down at his plate, his voice barely above a whisper. "I've been on my own for a while. I didn't think anyone would care." Marcus reached across the table and took Jamal's hand. "Well, I care. And there are a lot of other people who care too. We just have to find them." Jamal looked up, tears welling in his eyes. "Thank you, Marcus. For everything." Marcus squeezed his hand. "We're in this together, Jamal. We're going to get through it." That night, as Marcus lay on his cot, he thought about the future. He knew it wouldn't be easy, but he was determined to make a better life for both himself and Jamal. The outpouring of support from the community had given him hope, and he was ready to face whatever challenges came his way. As he drifted off to sleep, he couldn't help but feel that, despite everything, there was still goodness in the world. And as long as there were people willing to stand up and do the right thing, there was always hope for a better tomorrow. The next few days were a whirlwind for Marcus and Jamal. The story of Marcus's kindness and subsequent firing continued to gain traction online. Each morning, Marcus woke up to an influx of messages from people offering support, food, and even job opportunities. Despite the uncertainty of their situation, the outpouring of kindness from strangers filled him with a sense of hope and purpose. One afternoon, as Marcus was scrolling through his phone, a notification popped up. It was a message from a local news reporter who wanted to do a feature on his story. Marcus hesitated. He wasn't sure he wanted more attention, but the reporter assured him that sharing his story could help others in similar situations. The interview was scheduled for the next day at the shelter. Marcus and Jamal sat together in a small room, waiting for the reporter to arrive. Jamal looked nervous, his hands fidgeting in his lap. "Are you okay?" Marcus asked, placing a reassuring hand on Jamal's shoulder. Jamal nodded, but his eyes were wide with anxiety. "Yeah, just a little scared. What if they don't like us?" Marcus smiled warmly. "Don't worry about that. Just be yourself. People want to hear your story because it's important. You're important." Before Jamal could respond, the door opened and a woman walked in, followed by a cameraman. She introduced herself as Lisa, the reporter from the local news station. She was in her late 30s, with an approachable demeanor that immediately put both Marcus and Jamal at ease. "Thank you for agreeing to do this, Marcus," Lisa said, shaking his hand. "Your story has really touched a lot of people." Marcus nodded. "I'm just glad if it can make a difference." The interview began, and Lisa asked Marcus about the events that led to his firing, his decision to help Jamal, and how they had been coping since then. Marcus spoke honestly, his words filled with passion and determination. He talked about the importance of kindness and compassion, and how one small act could change someone's life. Jamal spoke too, his voice quiet but steady. He told Lisa about his mother, their struggles, and how Marcus had been there for him when no one else was. His story was heart-wrenching, and it was clear that it resonated deeply with everyone in the room. After the interview, Lisa thanked them and promised that the piece would air that evening. Marcus felt a mix of relief and anticipation. He hoped that sharing their story would not only help them but also inspire others to act with kindness and empathy. That evening, they gathered with the other shelter residents to watch the news. The room fell silent as Lisa introduced the segment, and the screen filled with images of Marcus and Jamal. The story was beautifully done, highlighting not only their struggles but also the incredible support they had received from the community. As the segment ended, Marcus felt a tap on his shoulder. It was Maria, the volunteer who had helped them earlier. "Marcus, there's someone here to see you," she said, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Marcus followed Maria to the shelter's entrance, where he found a man standing with a wide smile on his face. He was in his 40s, with a rugged appearance and a friendly demeanor. "Hi, Marcus. I'm David. I run a food truck business downtown. I saw your story and wanted to see if I could help." Marcus shook his hand, feeling a surge of hope. "Thank you, David. It's been a tough time, but the support has been incredible." David nodded. "I was hoping we could talk about a job. I could use someone with your skills, and I think you'd be a great fit for our team." Marcus's eyes widened. "That would be amazing. Thank you so much. Let's grab a coffee and chat about it," David suggested. "And Jamal is welcome to come too." They walked to a nearby cafe, where David outlined his offer. He wanted Marcus to help run the food truck and develop new menu items. The pay was decent, and it came with flexible hours, which meant Marcus could still focus on finding a more permanent solution for Jamal. As they talked, Marcus felt a weight lift off his shoulders. This job could be the stepping stone they needed to get back on their feet. Jamal listened intently, his eyes shining with excitement. "Can I help too?" Jamal asked, looking up at David. David smiled warmly. "Of course, Jamal. We can always use an extra pair of hands." The next day, Marcus started his new job with David's food truck. The work was hard but fulfilling, and Marcus found joy in creating delicious meals for customers. He also took the opportunity to start a small initiative, inspired by Jamal. Every day, they would set aside a portion of the food to give to the homeless and needy in the area. Word spread quickly, and soon people were coming to the food truck not just for the food, but for the sense of community and kindness that Marcus and Jamal had created. Customers would often pay extra, asking that the additional money be used to help those in need. The food truck became a beacon of hope and generosity, and Marcus found himself feeling more fulfilled than he had in years. Meanwhile, Le Gourmet was facing its own set of challenges. The backlash from Marcus's firing had taken a toll on the restaurant's reputation. Customers had started to boycott, and the once bustling establishment was now struggling to fill tables. Mr. Thompson found himself at a crossroads, forced to confront the consequences of his actions. One evening, as Marcus was closing up the food truck, he received a surprising phone call. It was Mr. Thompson. "Marcus, I need to talk to you," Mr. Thompson said, his voice heavy with regret. "Can we meet?" Marcus agreed, curious about what Mr. Thompson had to say. They met at a small cafe, and Marcus was struck by how different Mr. Thompson looked. The usually confident and stern man now appeared tired and troubled. "Marcus, I made a mistake," Mr. Thompson began, his voice faltering. "I was wrong to fire you, and I see now how much damage I've caused. The restaurant is suffering, and it's because of my actions." Marcus listened quietly, giving Mr. Thompson the space to speak. "I want to make things right," Mr. Thompson continued. "I'd like to offer your job back, with a raise and better conditions. And I want to find a way to help the community, like you've been doing with the food truck." Marcus thought for a moment, considering the offer. It was a chance to return to his passion for fine dining, but he had also found a new sense of purpose with the food truck. He realized that this could be an opportunity to combine both worlds. "Mr. Thompson, I appreciate the offer," Marcus said carefully. But I have a different proposal. What if we partnered up to create a community kitchen at Le Gourmet? We can still offer fine dining, but also dedicate part of our efforts to feeding the homeless and those in need. Mr. Thompson looked taken aback but intrigued. That's an interesting idea. How would it work? Marcus explained his vision, detailing how they could use the restaurant's resources to not only serve paying customers but also provide meals and culinary training to the homeless. It would be a way to give back to the community and rebuild the restaurant's reputation. By the end of their conversation, Mr. Thompson was on board. They agreed to work together, combining their skills and resources to create a restaurant that was not just about profit, but about making a positive impact on the community. As Marcus walked back to the shelter that night, he felt a sense of hope and excitement for the future. He knew there would be challenges ahead, but with the support of the community and the new partnership with Mr. Thompson, he was ready to face them. He found Jamal waiting for him, eager to hear about the meeting. "So, what happened?" Jamal asked. "We're going to create something amazing," Marcus replied, smiling. "Something that will help a lot of people." Jamal's face lit up with hope and excitement. "I can't wait to see it." Together, they walked back to the shelter, ready to take on the challenges of the next day. The power of kindness had set them on a new path, one that promised a brighter future for them and the community around them. The following weeks were a whirlwind of activity and change. Marcus and Mr. Thompson worked tirelessly to transform Le Gourmet into a restaurant with a mission that went beyond serving high-end cuisine. They envisioned a place where fine dining met community service, and the response from the community was overwhelmingly positive. The first step was to renovate the restaurant's layout to accommodate the new dual-purpose vision. A section of the dining area was converted into a community kitchen, where free meals would be prepared and served to the homeless and those in need. Marcus and Mr. Thompson decided to host a grand reopening event to introduce the new concept to the public. As the opening day approached, Marcus felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. He knew this was a bold move, but he believed in the mission and the impact it could have on the community. He spent countless hours planning the menu, coordinating with volunteers, and reaching out to local businesses for support. Jamal was by his side every step of the way, helping with preparations and spreading the word about the new initiative. Marcus had enrolled Jamal in a local school, and the boy's transformation was remarkable. He was no longer the scared, hungry child Marcus had found by the dumpster. Jamal was thriving, his confidence growing with each passing day. The night before the reopening, Marcus sat in the empty restaurant, reflecting on how much his life had changed. Mr. Thompson joined him, carrying 2 cups of coffee. "Nervous?" Mr. Thompson asked, handing Marcus a cup. "A little," Marcus admitted, taking a sip. "But more excited than anything. This feels right." Mr. Thompson nodded. "You've done an incredible job, Marcus. I'm sorry it took me so long to see the importance of what you were doing. This place has the potential to be something truly special." Marcus smiled, feeling a sense of camaraderie with Mr. Thompson that he had never felt before. "Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I think we're going to make a real difference." The grand reopening day arrived, and the restaurant buzzed with activity. The kitchen was a hive of preparation, with volunteers chopping vegetables, stirring pots, and plating dishes. Marcus moved through the chaos with ease, his passion and expertise guiding every decision. At the front of the house, Jamal greeted guests and directed them to their tables. He had a natural charm that put people at ease, and his enthusiasm was infectious. As the guests started to arrive, Marcus could feel the energy in the room shift. There was a palpable sense of excitement and hope. The event began with a speech from Mr. Thompson. He stood at the front of the dining room, his voice steady and sincere. "Thank you all for coming tonight. This restaurant has been a part of this community for many years, and we are excited to embark on this new chapter. Our mission is not just to provide excellent food, but to give back to those who need it most. We hope you will join us in this journey." The applause was loud and heartfelt. Marcus stepped forward to say a few words, his heart pounding with emotion. "I've always believed that food has the power to bring people together and change lives. Tonight, we're not just reopening a restaurant, we're creating a place where everyone is welcome, where kindness and compassion are the main ingredients. Thank you for being here and supporting us." The evening was a resounding success. The dining area was filled with patrons enjoying the exquisite dishes Marcus had prepared, while the community kitchen served a steady stream of grateful guests. The atmosphere was one of warmth and inclusivity, a testament to the power of kindness and community. As the night drew to a close, Marcus found a moment to step outside and take in the scene. The street outside Le Gourmet was alive with laughter and conversation, a stark contrast to the quiet desperation he had felt just weeks before. He felt a deep sense of satisfaction and pride in what they had accomplished. Jamal joined him, a wide grin on his face. "Marcus, tonight was amazing. Everyone loved the food, and the community kitchen was so busy. We really did it." Marcus put an arm around Jamal's shoulders. "We did, didn't we? I'm so proud of you, Jamal. You've come so far." Jamal beamed. "I couldn't have done it without you. You gave me a chance when no one else would." Marcus looked down at Jamal, his heart full. "You deserve that chance, Jamal. And look at you now, you're helping to give others the same opportunity." The weeks that followed were filled with hard work and continued success. The community embraced the new mission of Le Gourmet, and the restaurant became a symbol of hope and resilience. Marcus and Mr. Thompson worked closely together, their partnership stronger than ever. They expanded their outreach, partnering with local shelters and food banks to ensure that no one in the community went hungry. Marcus also started a culinary training program for the homeless, teaching them valuable skills that could help them find employment and rebuild their lives. The program quickly became one of the most rewarding aspects of his work, and he found immense joy in seeing his students succeed. One evening, as Marcus was cleaning up after a busy day, he received a visit from Lisa, the reporter who had helped bring their story to the public. She wanted to do a follow-up piece on the transformation of Le Gourmet. "It's incredible what you've done here, Marcus," Lisa said, looking around the bustling kitchen. "Your story has inspired so many people." Marcus smiled, feeling a deep sense of gratitude. "I'm just glad we could make a difference. This community has given me so much, and it's an honor to give back." The follow-up piece aired a few days later, showcasing the positive impact Le Gourmet had on the community. Donations poured in, and more volunteers signed up to help with the mission. The restaurant's reputation soared, not just for its food, but for its heart and soul. As Marcus watched the segment with Jamal by his side, he couldn't help but feel overwhelmed by how far they had come. They had faced so many challenges, but through it all, they had remained steadfast in their commitment to kindness and compassion. Jamal turned to Marcus, his eyes shining with determination. "What's next, Marcus?" Marcus smiled, knowing that their journey was far from over. "We keep going, Jamal. We keep helping, keep cooking, and keep believing in the power of kindness. This is just the beginning." Together, they looked out at the busy kitchen and dining room, filled with laughter, warmth, and hope. Le Gourmet had become more than a restaurant. It was a beacon of light in the community, a place where everyone was welcome, and where the power of kindness could be felt in every meal served. And as Marcus stood there, he knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, with courage, compassion, and a belief in a better tomorrow. The transformation of Le Gourmet had brought a new energy to the community, and the restaurant was thriving. Marcus and Mr. Thompson worked tirelessly to ensure that both the fine dining experience and the community kitchen operated smoothly. Their efforts paid off as the restaurant became a symbol of hope and kindness in the city. One morning, Marcus woke up with a sense of anticipation. It was the day of the first culinary graduation for the homeless individuals who had participated in the training program. Marcus had spent months teaching them not only how to cook but also how to believe in themselves again. The ceremony was set to take place at Le Gourmet, and Marcus wanted everything to be perfect. As Marcus prepared for the day, Jamal was right there with him, eager to help. Jamal had become an integral part of the restaurant, his bright smile and positive attitude infectious. Marcus had enrolled Jamal in a local school, and the boy was thriving both academically and personally. The dining room was decorated beautifully, with white tablecloths, fresh flowers, and a stage set up for the ceremony. As guests began to arrive, the room filled with a sense of excitement and pride. The graduates, dressed in their chef whites, beamed with joy and anticipation. Mr. Thompson opened the ceremony with a heartfelt speech. Today, we celebrate not just the skills these individuals have learned, but the resilience and determination they have shown. Le Gourmet has always been about more than just food. It's about community, compassion, and giving people the chance to rebuild their lives. The applause was thunderous, and Marcus felt a lump in his throat. He stepped up to the podium, his heart pounding with emotion. I am incredibly proud of each and every one of you, he began, his voice steady. You've shown that no matter how tough life gets, there is always hope. This program was about giving you the tools to succeed, but you've given me so much more in return. Your strength and perseverance inspire me every day. As Marcus spoke, he saw tears in the eyes of some of the graduates. He felt a deep connection with them, knowing that they had faced incredible challenges and had come out stronger on the other side. The ceremony continued with each graduate receiving their certificate, a moment of triumph that was met with cheers and applause. Marcus watched with pride as they walked across the stage, knowing that this was just the beginning of their journey. After the ceremony, the dining room was transformed into a bustling celebration. The graduates, their families, and members of the community mingled and enjoyed the food that the graduates had prepared themselves. Marcus moved through the crowd, congratulating each graduate and thanking everyone for their support. Jamal found Marcus in the midst of the celebration. Marcus, this is amazing. Look at how happy everyone is. Marcus smiled, putting an arm around Jamal's shoulders. It really is, isn't it? This is what it's all about, bringing people together and making a difference. As the night wore on, Marcus found himself in a quiet moment of reflection. He stepped outside, looking up at the stars. The journey had been long and difficult, but the rewards were beyond anything he had ever imagined. Mr. Thompson joined him, a contented smile on his face. You've done something incredible here, Marcus. We did it together, Marcus replied. Thank you for believing in this vision. Mr. Thompson nodded. It's changed me too. I see now how important it is to give back and to help those in need. This restaurant is more than I ever dreamed it could be. Just then, a familiar figure approached. It was Tony, the businessman who had given Marcus his first job after being fired. Marcus, I've been following your journey, and I'm beyond impressed. You've turned a tough situation into something beautiful. Thank you, Tony. Your support meant the world to me, Marcus said, shaking his hand. Tony grinned. I'm glad to hear that. And I have a proposal for you. How would you like to expand this idea? There are other communities that could benefit from what you've created here. Marcus's eyes widened. You mean, open more restaurants like Le Gourmet? Exactly, Tony replied. I've got the resources and connections to help make it happen. Think about it, Marcus. This could be just the beginning. Marcus felt a surge of excitement and possibility. The idea of expanding their mission and helping even more people was incredible. I'd love to talk more about this, Tony. Thank you. As the evening wound down, Marcus gathered the graduates for one final toast. He raised his glass, his voice filled with emotion. To new beginnings and brighter futures. May we continue to inspire and support each other, no matter where life takes us. The graduates, their families, and the community raised their glasses in unison, the clinking of glasses a symphony of hope and celebration. In the months that followed, Marcus and Mr. Thompson worked with Tony to develop a plan for expanding their mission. They opened new community kitchens in other cities, each one based on the successful model they had created at Le Gourmet. The impact was profound, and Marcus found himself traveling frequently, sharing his story and inspiring others to believe in the power of kindness. Jamal continued to thrive, his confidence growing with each passing day. He often joined Marcus on his travels, sharing his own story and becoming a beacon of hope for others. The bond between Marcus and Jamal deepened, built on mutual respect and a shared commitment to making the world a better place. Years later, as Marcus looked out at the bustling kitchen of one of their newest locations, he felt a deep sense of fulfillment. The journey had been filled with challenges, but the rewards were immeasurable. He had not only found a way to continue his passion for cooking but had also created a legacy of kindness and compassion that would last for generations. As the restaurant doors opened and the first guests of the day began to arrive, Marcus knew that this was just the beginning. The power of kindness had transformed his life and the lives of so many others. And with each meal served, each life touched, he was reminded that even in the darkest times, there is always hope. Standing beside him, Jamal smiled. "We did it, Marcus. We really did it." Marcus put an arm around Jamal's shoulders, his heart full. "Yes, we did. And we'll keep doing it, one meal at a time." Together, they stepped into the bustling kitchen, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead with courage, compassion, and a belief in a brighter tomorrow.